Hi. After doing the video of the sending out of Hagar and Ishmael by Abraham and Sarah last time, I thought I'd do a little supplement here thanks to the work of Cheryl Exum, one of the great living scholars of the Hebrew Bible in the UK at University of Sheffield, as you can see there, based on her article, The Accusing Look, The Abjection of Hagar in Art. And I won't go through her whole article. You can see the citation, and if you have access to it, you can read that for yourself. What I would like to focus on is how she shows how various artists over the centuries, and we're going to focus mostly on late Renaissance and a couple of modern ones, represent an interpretation that they have to make of what's going on here in the story. So in the last video, I was highlighting how non-white or non-European people coming from very different perspectives read the story of Hagar, the Egyptian, very differently than white European scholars have tended to. Now we have European, mostly European artists, although there are a couple of American ones as well, to see how when you're doing it as art rather than a scholarly article, how that interpretation may vary. So thanks to Cheryl Exum for getting us going on that. So I'm going to just go through a few of these, and you can see for yourself what you see in them. I'm not an art historian or an art critic. I just want to share these, and you can point out a couple of things, and you can see the rest for yourself. So this from Adrian van der Werf from 1701. And you can see there that Hagar and Ishmael both have their back to Abraham, and the way his hands are suggests that it's not necessarily such a terrible thing. I'm not sure how to interpret what he's trying to do with those hands there, but you see she's got a canteen on her hip, and off they go barefoot, showing their vulnerability. This one from Brent Fabritas from 1658. We're going to have two from him. And this one you see there's a tender care. It's almost as if they're going off for a journey here. And it doesn't seem to be something hostile or difficult at all, although Abraham is making eye contact with her. She's not making eye contact with him. And where's Sarah in this scene? We don't see Sarah at all. We see young Ishmael with the quiver of arrows on his back, and we see the animals in the background, but Sarah is just not in that one. So this one from Nicholas Mays from 1653, and this one was not in Exum's list, but I like this one only because it's so out of context to see Hagar in that kind of outfit. This is the Egyptian slave girl in what seems to me a fancy red hat and certainly a nice outfit. But the way we see this here again, Sarah's not there. Notice how dark it is that he's sending her out. It seems like dusk. Ishmael separated from his mother already, and the ubiquitous dog down there in the corner. It seems almost as if Abraham's trying to explain it to her and make it seem like it's not really as bad as you think it is. Here's another one from Brent Fabritas, and this one, as Exum points out, really shows the suffering of Hagar here, and it's hard to know exactly what's on Ishmael's mind as he watches his mother throw herself in tears on Abraham's shoulder. And you can see that Abraham's looking at her sort of curiously, not sure what to make of this. And yet again, Sarah's not in the scene. So this one from Peter Joseph Verhagen, the latest of this bunch, from 1781. And I think this one is interesting because the oil coloring makes it a little more vague. But we see Sarah now, for the first time we've seen her, peeking out from behind. And there's Isaac in the picture as well. And it appears from this picture that Isaac and Ishmael are about the same age. Although, as we'll see in the next video, according to the text, Ishmael is 13 years older than Isaac is, and would be 16 or so by this time, since Isaac's just been weaned at the age of approximately 3. So there we can't quite tell what the look is on Sarah's face, but she seems to be holding on to Isaac, and Isaac and Ishmael are separate from each other. This one, the dismissal of Hagar from Gabriel Metzu earlier in the 17th century, 1650s. And notice how several of these were all from the same decade. I'm not sure what was going on in the 1650s. The next one we'll see from Guercino was that period as well. Maybe they were all talking to each other. Maybe if you're an art historian or you know about that, you can put a comment on the YouTube page here. But this one is the one where Abraham looks the most stern, like he's sending her out, pointing the direction. Yet again, Sarah's not there, but the dog is there. Ishmael holding on to his mom's hand, wondering what's going on. And you can see the sadness in her eyes. But you notice that she's a little bit larger in body shape here, and it's certainly suggesting that she's not been deprived of sustenance on this during the time with Abraham and Sarah. But we don't see the skin of water, and we don't see any bread. But we do see Sarah from the window there, and I almost didn't notice her the first time I watched this because she's separate. What she's calling out isn't clear, but plainly it must be something like, "Get out of here." This one from the artist simply known as Gorsino, also from the same time period, 1657. And there you see Sarah with her back to the group here. And Hagar could be perhaps on the edge of tears, but Ishmael is in tears. They're holding on to his mother. And again, Abraham with the finger pointing, sending her away. Then I want to look at a couple of modern ones. First from R. Crumb, who maybe you know R. Crumb if you're old enough, because he was famous in the hippie days of doing the Mr. Natural comics, which are the first comics that actually showed women with anatomically correct body parts and such. And he did his whole illustrated Genesis a number of years ago after studying the King James Version in great detail. And so we have this, his page of Genesis 21. And as a comic, you can see he doesn't have to reduce it to one image. And so much more realistic, at least in our Crumb's mind, of what people look like in comparison with the Renaissance art that has them look like city people and courtiers. But here we see them looking much more crude and rough, and the horror of the situation. And Crumb brings God into the story here, and God in Crumb's rendering is that head in the sky with the light pouring all around it. And that might be a turnoff to many people who have rejected the idea of the old man in the sky as God, but he's taking us from the King James. And so we see the harshness of the situation there. And then finally, I'd like to look at the one that was the cover picture on the YouTube page, and that's this sculpture by George Siegel. And there's a video here which I won't play, but I would encourage you to do so. You can see the URL up there above, and I posted it on the page for this video, for the last video. But I'd like to look at a couple angles here. This is painted over clay. It's not stone, but it looks like stone. And it really shows the emotion of it. And I don't think I need to comment on it. I think you can see this for yourself from these various angles. And we can also note how the relationship between Hagar on the one hand and Sarah on the other hand, and the different ways that he's colored them here. So that Sarah is in the background with the cowl here, and Hagar's up front, and Ishmael, who's now looks like an adult man, 17 that he is, hugging his father. So I hope that this brief look at some of the art helps us to see that not only biblical scholars interpret these texts, but people engaging in the visual arts, and we'll certainly have more of that for the next scene, which is also one that artists have taken up. See you for that next time. Bye-bye.